Israel and Hamas are moving towards an agreement that would pause fighting for a month in Gaza after weeks of intense mediation efforts led by Qatar, Washington and Egypt. The framework for the phased approach was stalled over differences between the two sides on how to bring an official end to the war in Gaza. During the proposed 30-day ceasefire, Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners would be released by both sides, and an increase in humanitarian aid would also be allowed into the besieged enclave. Qatar, which has been at the center of negotiations between Israel and Hamas, has said there is cause for optimism, but the situation is still fluid as fighting continues on the ground.
We are engaging in serious discussions with both sides. We have presented ideas to both sides. We are getting a constant stream of replies from both sides, and that in its own right is a cause for optimism. However, the situation, as I said, on the ground is very much fluid. Every day you get more information coming in that is harmful to the mediation process. You get statements that are harmful to the mediation process.
And another sticking point for lasting peace in Gaza appears to be Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's outright rejection of Palestinian statehood. The UN Secretary General saying his refusal for a two-state solution will only embolden extremists and prolong the war.
Israel's occupation must end. Excellencies, last week's clear and repeated rejection of the two-state solution at the highest level of the Israeli government is unacceptable. And this was despite the strongest appeals from even the friends of Israel, including those sitting around this table. This refusal and the denial of the right to statehood to the Palestinian people would indefinitely prolong a conflict that has become a major threat to global peace and security.
For more on this, Avi Mayer is here. He's the former editor-in-chief of the Jerusalem Post. He joins us live from Jerusalem. Avi, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here. So, look, to begin, the holdup in this latest ceasefire proposal appears to be Israel and Netanyahu. Why doesn't Netanyahu want to end this war?
Well, Dan, actually, as we understand it, the Egyptians said that it was actually Hamas that rejected the Israeli proposal yesterday for a 2-month ceasefire that would see the entirety of the hostages released. We understand one of the major sticking points is Israel's demand that the Hamas leadership vacate the Gaza Strip, that they be permitted to leave. Hamas has apparently rejected that condition outright. And so we actually see Hamas as the primary obstacle, again, holding over 120 Israeli hostages for nearly 4 months now. I think that is probably the primary obstacle, at least in the eyes of the Israelis. We have to understand these are people who are being held in contravention of international law under terrible humanitarian conditions. And Israel's understanding, in order for there to be any kind of cessation in hostilities, those hostages really need to be released as soon as possible.
Sure, I think you understand, though. Israel wants to fight on, though. That's the message that we've heard from Netanyahu. Hamas's position is that it wants a permanent ceasefire. So the reality is, why would Hamas agree to release hostages before getting an agreement to end the war, a war that Israel wants to keep fighting?
Well, first of all, let's be very clear. It is Hamas that wanted this war. Israel had no desire to enter a war, and before October 7th, there was a ceasefire in place. It was Hamas that violated that ceasefire in the most gruesome and horrific way possible, murdering 1,200 people, massacring, raping, taking people hostage, including small babies and elderly. So the notion that Israel wants this war is completely preposterous. This is a country that has been paralyzed, that has been traumatized since October 7th, that continues to be traumatized every single day. Just yesterday, we saw the deaths of 24 Israeli servicemen who represent the tapestry of Israeli society. Jews and Arabs, religious and secular, have fallen in battle. So this is very much a country that wants this war to end, but it has two main goals. The first, of course, is the return of those hostages who, again, are being held in horrific conditions in contravention of international law, and the decimation of Hamas's capacity to ever carry out a massacre like October 7th again. Those are the two goals. That remains Israel's primary objective here. And so when we talk about what the endgame might look like, in Israel's consciousness, and certainly in the eyes of its government, those remain the goals, and that's how we can reach some kind of a ceasefire once those goals are actually achieved.